So once upon a time, the Prophet ﷺ was sitting with his Sahaba. They were sitting in a circle when a man suddenly approached them. And nobody had ever seen this man before. He was a tall man with jet black hair, wearing a long, crisp, clean, white thobe. And the reason those details are important is because in those days, if you didn't know somebody, it meant that they were a traveler and that they had come from somewhere far away. And traveling in the desert would cause your hair to become disheveled and your clothes to become dusty and dirty. But this man was pristine, immaculate, clean, but nobody had ever seen him before. And he came and he sat down in front of the Prophet ﷺ, and he had his knees up against his knees, which suggests a certain level of intimacy. And he asked the Prophet ﷺ, "O Muhammad, tell me, what is Islam?" And the Prophet ﷺ responded that Islam is to say La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, right? The Shahada. It's to witness that there's only one God and that Muhammad is the messenger of God. It's to pray 5 times a day. It's to fast in the month of Ramadan. It's to pay the zakat once a year. And it's to go on the Hajj if you're able to afford it. And the man responded, "You're correct." And the Sahaba were all shocked. They were like, who is this man asking the question and then he's confirming the answer? Then he said, "O Muhammad, tell me, what is Iman?" And the Prophet ﷺ responded that it is to believe in one God, it is to believe in the messengers, it is to believe in the angels, it is to believe in the revealed books, it is to believe in the day of judgment, and it is to believe in the qadr of Allah, that what hits you was never going to miss and what misses you was never going to hit, right? The divine decree. And the man responded, "You were correct." And again, all of the Sahaba were shocked that who is this man asking the question and then confirming the answer. Then the man asked, "O Muhammad, tell me, what is Ihsan?" And the Prophet ﷺ responded that it is to worship your Lord as if you see him, and if you see him not, to know that he sees you. And the man responded again, "You were correct." And again the Sahaba were shocked. Then the man asked, "O Muhammad, when is the hour?" And the Prophet ﷺ responded, "The one being asked the question doesn't know any more than the one asking the question." And so the man said, "Then tell me some of the signs of the end of time," right? And this, I can tell you, the thing the kids are most fascinated with are jinn stories and the signs of the end of time. Those are the 2 things kids want to talk about the most. So then, and I don't go into the details of the signs of the end of the time, and the kids will be asking, what are they? What are they? And we'll save that for another day. But the Prophet ﷺ went through a number of the signs of the end of time. Then at the end of that conversation, the man got up and he left. And everybody sat there in silence. And then the Prophet ﷺ turned to Umar radiyallahu anhu and he said, "Umar, do you know who that man was?" And by the way, I'm paraphrasing this hadith. I'm not saying it word for word. I said, "Do you know who that man was?" And Umar radiyallahu anhu responded, "Allah and his messenger know best." And the Prophet ﷺ said, "That was Jibril alayhi salam. He came to teach you your religion." And the key part is, I tell the kids, we're not sure of the exact number. Some say 50 days, some say 70 days. We don't know the exact number. But shortly after this incident, the Prophet ﷺ passed away. And so this hadith is considered to be our entire religion in a nutshell. And it's considered to be one of the most important hadiths out there. And then I break it down for them and I show them that Islam, the first part of the hadith that the Prophet ﷺ went through, it has everything to do with our bodies, right? The Shahada, you say it with your tongue. The prayer, you do it with your body. Fasting, it's something you do with your body. Going on the Hajj, it's something you do with your body. Giving zakat, it's something you do with your body. It's a physical act. Everything about Islam has to do with the physical part of our being. And from Islam, we get the science of Sharia, jurisprudence, and we learn about halal and haram for everything that's got to do with our physical existence, what we eat, what we drink, how we dress, how we don't dress, how we have our physical relationships with people of the opposite gender. Everything has to do with the body when it comes to Islam. And from that, we know who is a Muslim. But then we go to the second level, where the Prophet ﷺ was asked about Iman. And he talked about the 6 articles of faith, which is what you were taught here at Sunday school. You're taught about the 5 pillars of Islam, and you're taught about the 6 articles of faith. You can say, I believe in everything, but I don't believe in Musa alayhi salam. That will take you out of Islam and Iman, right? So we have to know exactly what we're supposed to believe with our minds. So Iman has to do with everything to do with our minds, what we think. And the reason, you guys, this is so important, especially with certain agendas that are being taught to our children, certain indoctrination that is happening in the public schools, many kids, even if they wouldn't commit certain harams, they say, I don't think there's anything wrong with it, right? We all know what I'm talking about. Right? So there's certain acts the kids themselves wouldn't do, but they'll tell you, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. So we have to make sure the kids understand that what they think is just as important as what they do. And they need to understand that. This is what keeps them in the deen. And so from Iman, everything to do with our minds, we get the science of Aqidah, creed, and theology. And this is also what's being taught by your teachers in Sunday school. And from that, from Iman, we get the next level of the believer, which is a mu'min. So we've got Muslim and we've got mu'min, but we don't stop there. We want to get to the highest level. And the highest level is when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked, what is Ihsan? And Ihsan has to do with excellence, right? Doing everything with excellence. It's got to do with your character. And from that, we get the science of tasawwuf. We've got the science of Sufism. And from that, we get the muhsin, the highest level of the believer. And the key part that we tell the kids is that we worship Allah not just with our body, not just with our minds, but with our souls as well. So body, mind, and soul. It's holistic. Because these days there are some kids who are only learning what you're supposed to do with your body. They don't know what you're supposed to do with your mind and with your soul, with your heart. And then there's some people who only care about feelings. And they only care about, like, well, if this feels good, right? I'm going to listen to poetry and I'm going to listen to Islamic nasheeds, but I'm not necessarily going to get up and pray. I'll watch Eartha Girl all night, but I won't necessarily get up and pray when it's prayer time. So we have to make sure that the kids understand that we worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with all 3 facets of our being. This hadith helps put it in context. And storytelling is the way to get them to understand.